Hey book friends, welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to be calling this video my monthly reset video, and I've been inspired by a number of other YouTube channels who kind of make these like monthly resets. So my plans for these videos are to share a few things. I want to share the anticipated books for that month, like the month of March. I also want to share any readathons or anything I want to be participating in. I want to share my TBR. Now, in this way, I want to keep it a little bit loose, but you'll also kind of see why I pick these books based on what I want to be participating in. And then I'll share any books I've hauled. And so I've just decided to kind of combine all of these things into one video. It'll give you a really good idea of my upcoming month. And I like the idea of kind of a fresh start for the month. So let's just hop into my first attempt at a monthly reset video. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome back to the channel. So like I said, a monthly reset for March. So I'm just going to start with some anticipated books that are coming out in March. And so I've been trying to track these a bit better this year. I've been trying to put in holds at my library, and I actually have holds for all of the books I'm going to be mentioning. Now, will I be getting to all of them? I'm not sure. Probably not, but I can. And I don't have to buy like a $25 book. So I have 4 books that I'm excited for coming out in March. The first, oh, actually this one doesn't come out in March. This one comes out late February, which to me means it's a March book. And that's A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. So I've heard of this author. I've never read anything by her, but I was drawn in because it's like Norse inspired. You guys, I really enjoy like Viking times. I really enjoy kind of that time period. And then to have it be a bit of a fantasy romance, which is my understanding of this book. It's about this girl who's been kind of forced into a marriage, and then her husband betrays her or something like that and gives her over to the man who's like ruling the region, and she has to fight his son and all this stuff. But then during this fight, she reveals that she has like a drop of magic or something like that, and that makes her what's called a shield maiden. And then something happens that makes it so that she has to be in close proximity to the sun, Bjorn or something like that. And I think that's the romantical interest. I'm not sure. I feel like I've enjoyed more romantic-y type books, and then having this be Viking inspired just made me want to try out this author. So that's the first thing that is on my list that came out late February. The next 2 books are thriller books. So the new Simone St. James. So this is, I think, called Murder Road. I'll put a picture up here. This sounds so good. This is about this stretch of highway, I don't even know where it seems like there's a lot of murders. And then there's this couple on their way to their honeymoon or something like that, happens down this road, picks up a hitchhiker, and I think the hitchhiker dies or something like that. But the problem is then the police start to believe that this couple's kind of the main suspect in this string of murders that has happened on this road. And it just sounds super interesting. And I really do like Simone St. James writing. And so I'm looking forward to trying that one. And then the other book is the new one by Lisa Unger, which I have never tried her books before. And it's called The New Couple in 5B, I think that's right. I'll put up a picture. And so this sounds really interesting. It reminds me of that Riley Sager book, the one about the apartment complex. I can never remember. But it is about this couple who, I believe their uncle for some reason like gives them an apartment in this really elite apartment complex, and they of course move in and they feel really welcomed at first, but then they start to notice weird things, right? Like the doorman is always there, like there's these video cameras, like there's a string of really kind of bad things that have happened at this apartment complex. So it sounds really good. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. I don't know which one of those I'll pick. I feel like I'll probably pick one because they both sound really good. And then I think the 4th one that is on my list, I don't know if I'll get to. Honestly, I probably won't because I have to read the first one still. And it's called Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. So this is the 2nd book after Empire of the Vampire, which is on my shelves and I really do want to get to it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to that and this. So odds are I won't get to this one, but I'm curious about this world, curious about this book series. So those are my most anticipated March releases that I wanted to make you aware of. And now on to what do I want to talk about next? Let's talk about readathons. So a goal of mine, and I'm not sure, I don't think I made I didn't make a goals video this year, but a goal of mine is to participate in more things. And what I mean by that is I decided to join a couple of Patreons, which I've talked about already this year. And I also want to participate in more readathons. And so there is a readathon in March that I'm really interested in, and it is Realmathon, I think it's called Realmathon by Covers with Cassidy. So why I'm drawn to this readathon, because there's so many readathons, right? I like that it's month long. I like that you can read anything. There is definitely some setup and structure to the readathon. There's prompts and there's like winning points for your team or like taking away points from other teams. So it's kind of a team-based competition readathon, which is always pretty fun, but I love that it is not specific to a genre or anything like that. You kind of pick a team. I picked the Realm of Time team only because it had white covers get you extra points, as well as objects on the cover get you extra points. And I looked at my current TBR, which I'll show you here shortly, and I had a number of white books. So I just decided to pick that team and it'll be really fun. And so I am excited for March to see how this kind of goes. I've never really joined a big team challenge like this, and there are a lot of people involved, so I love that, and that's just wonderful for Cassidy and her channel. So that is the readathons. So now let's look at what I have in my potential book pile before I go to my book haul pile. So what I have first, I want to share first is the books that I'm definitely going to be reading for a variety of reasons. The first one is this book. So I'm reading The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. It's the second book in the Thursday Murder Club. We're reading it as a buddy read on my reading challenge, which the Discord is always linked down below. So if you're interested in joining our buddy read, we're going to be reading this. I forget what the prompt was for March, but you're not required to read this. There is a prompt and you can read whatever you like. We like to share and recommend books to each other on that Discord. So please join us. It's a fun time. I'm excited to get back into this series, though I read Thursday Murder Club and really liked it. I just loved the main characters, like of Elizabeth and Joyce and Ron, and they're just these old people in a retirement village of Cooper's Chase, and they solve murders. And so there's going to be another murder, and it sounds like it's about this man who was accused of stealing diamonds, and he's on the run, and he comes there, and they maybe help him out. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't really matter. I think it'll be a good time. So that is definitely on my list. Another thing that's definitely on my list is this book. Okay, so I joined Angela's Patreon, Literature Science Alliance, this year so I could test out sci-fi. And so we are going to be reading through this series starting in March. And so this is The Two Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. So I believe this is the first book in this series. Not even quite sure what it's called. But from what I understand about this series and how she's described it, is it's a little bit more complex. It'd be more fun to read in a kind of buddy reading situation. And so that's why I jumped on it. And so we'll see what I think of this first book, but a little bit about it, if I can explain it. It's about two main characters, it sounds like, Mycroft and Carlisle. Mycroft is a convict. So we're talking 25th century, and I believe this is Earth. It doesn't say otherwise. 25th century, he's a convict, and his sentence is that he has to go around and he has to basically be useful to anybody he meets. That's his punishment. And then Carlisle is a spiritual counselor during a time when religion or public practice of religion is almost illegal. So you have these two characters, and they're born into kind of this utopian society, but yet it sounds like it's a very controlled society as well. There's no real freedom of speech or religion or things like that. And then Mycroft and Carlisle stumble on the wild card that may destabilize the system. It says, the boy Bridger, who can effortlessly make his wishes come true by bringing inanimate objects to life. So I'm not sure if this also has kind of a fantastical element involved, but it's, I think, 3 books or 4 books long. I can't quite remember how long this series is, but I just want to give it a shot. That is something I want to prioritize this year, is just to see if I like sci-fi. And another book that I am definitely reading is this one, The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. So I'm currently reading the David Bad trilogy. That's actually was our buddy read for this current month, February, the one I'm filming in, as well as April. We're going to finish out the series, and I love it. But I'm also wanting to check out her latest series, and I'm buddy reading this with a friend who also loves fantasy, and neither of us have read this book yet, so I'm excited to do that. And it's really a pirate story from what I understand, and the main character is also older, which I really enjoy, to be honest. And so Amina, it sounds like she's kind of this notorious pirate, and she's about to retire, and then something pulls her into kind of like one last big job, sort of that trope. And so I'm honestly not sure where it goes from there. I think this is supposed to be a series, so the first book in a series. So I'm looking forward to just kind of getting into it. And I haven't read too many ships and like pirate books other than the Ship of Magic books, Live Ship Traders books by Robin Hobb, which I just love. So that's another book on my list. So the other two that are for the other Patreon I'm a part of, like I said, I'm a joiner this year, and that's Gwen's Patreon. I'll also link her down below. Is we are going to be reading this book, Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. And this is a white book, which helps out with my readathon, as well as this one. You can see that has a majority of white on the cover. So these are kinds of the things that helped me pick that team. But we're going to be reading this. We read And Then There Were None in January, and I just loved my reread, and I've been meaning to pick this one up. It's one of the most well-known Agatha Christie books, and it has that like isolated setting, murder, locked room, there's only so many suspects. I'm excited. I think it is a Perot. Yes, it's a Perot book. So we're reading that one, and then this is the one I'm not sure. That's why this is definitely a potential pile, is that Gwen is hosting kind of a read-along with Hunger Games, and starting in March is the first one, the Hunger Games. And I've read this a long time ago, and I don't think I read book 3, and I didn't read the prequel books. So there's a couple books in this series that it would be kind of fun to finish. But this is a little bit lower on the priority because I feel like I already have a number of big books on my list, and I only have actually one more on here that I'm not sure if I'll get to, but it's another white book, and it's a priority series that I want to finish. I really love it, and I'm not sure what's taking me so long to hop back in, but it's the second book in the Tawny Man trilogy by Robin Hobb, and it's called The Golden Fool. And this was on my February TBR, and I just not going to get to it this month, and so I'm kind of moving it to next month. This book I've talked about before. This is the second trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings that focuses on Fitz as he is, I think, in his 30s. He is being drawn back into the politics and the intrigue, and there's something he's helping out with that we got a big taste of in the first book, and now I'm still trying to pick up the second one. I love these. I really do. I love the Fool. I love Fitz. I love all the characters. So that is kind of the last thing on my potential pile, but yet, like I said, I have a couple of those books coming from the library. I want to read probably one of the thrillers as well as the fantasy romance. So I don't know, this is too many. I realize that it's too many books, but that's okay. That's just my potential pile. So that's my thoughts for March, but I'm thinking I want to just kind of do a little bit of a monthly book haul in these reset videos, because I'm only making one video a week this year on this channel, that I think it's a perfect place to put my book hauls. So let me just start with my book of the month books. So I picked up 2 in February, right? Yeah, February. I picked up the second book in, already forgot the name of this series. It's the second book after Divine Rivals, and it's called Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. Now, I really enjoyed Divine Rivals with Iris and Rowan, I think his name was. Roman, not Rowan. Roman. When I read it, it's very much a historical fantasy story about these 2 people who are competitors at this newspaper in kind of what feels like early 19th century, except there's fantastical elements. There's this war of the gods going on, and her brother has enlisted in the war, and she is doing things in the first book to try and figure out what's going on with him. Now, it ended on quite the cliffhanger. I wasn't sure if I actually liked the end of Divine Rivals, but I'm still curious. I still really want to know what's happening. I've heard this one has a bit more fantastical elements, which I'm here for. I wanted to know more about that, like this War of the Gods, what's going on. But I really did enjoy the kind of historical aspect of it. So I picked that book up along with this one, which is actually what made me have a book of the month box, because I've been skipping a decent amount lately, but I was hopeful the book of the month would put out the latest Kristen Hanna, and they did not disappoint. And so this, I really want to get to. Again, I don't have enough time for all these books, but this follows nurses during the Vietnam War. And from my understanding is it focuses more on like their homecoming and their return, and talking a little bit more about like how society receives these veterans and these people who have fought for us and our freedom and our country, and maybe they don't always have the warmest welcome back home, especially from such a political war as the Vietnam War. And so I don't know much about that. I haven't read a ton of historical fiction that has to do with the Vietnam War, so I'm all for it. Kristen Hanna, she knows how to write, especially emotional historical stories. So I have those. I also picked up this trilogy. It's out of order. It's the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. Now, I've heard this is one of the best series she has, and a number of people told me that this would be really good for me because I've been loving historical fantasy. And so I just found this on Pango for cheap, so I just picked up all three of them. And they're Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. I don't know. It sounds like it's about this main character of Tessa who is going to kind of, what did they call it? Victorian England. So it's historical. Yes. So it goes back in time, at least from kind of the first series, which I did read. What was it called? Mortal Instruments. I liked it. There's some things in there I didn't like, but you know, it was a generally good time. It's a YA fantasy. This is also YA fantasy, but I'm really enjoying it these days, and especially if you throw in some historical aspects. But anyway, Tessa goes to London to find her brother, and then ends up being kidnapped by a secret society in which she learns she has kind of these giftings or magical powers, and then that society wants her powers, and she like seeks the refuge of the Shadow Hunters, which is from that first book, and this is a group of people who fight demons. And so obviously there was a group of shadow hunters in Victorian England, and she seeks refuge with them and gets pulled into some stuff. That's my guess. I think it sounds really fun, to be honest. I'm excited to pick those up. They're also easy to get on audiobooks, so it's nice because it gives me something to listen to. So my sister, my wonderful sister, thank you, gave me these. It starts with The Lies of Locke Lamora. I think it's called the Gentleman Bastards series. I could be wrong. By Scott Lynch. From what I understand, it has kind of a Robin Hood feel to it. Sounds like this man, Locke Lamora, is kind of this fabled swordsman, a master thief. He protects the poor, all these things. But it sounds like instead of him actually like stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, he keeps it for himself and his group of friends and other thieves. Not sure exactly what kind of the plot line will be. But that sounds interesting. So she gave me the first three. So this is Red Seas Under Red Skies and The Republic of Thieves. I feel like she said that he eventually is going to finish the series. So that does make me a little cautious to start a series that's unfinished, and it's been unfinished for a while. But I still do like that premise. I really do like the misfit band of thieves, and I'm just not sure exactly what like the overarching plot is, but that still sounds good. All right, I have two more things from my sister actually. She gave me her copy of The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I really enjoyed this book. I talked about it in my January wrap-up. It surprised me. She really didn't like it. Fair enough. So she just gave me her copy because I liked it a lot. And then she also gave me the Fairy Loot edition of The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's beautiful, you guys. Look. Fairy Loot. It's so pretty. Like now I'm tempted to see if I could get the initial trilogy from Fairy Loot. I don't know. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. Granted, this wasn't my favorite. I really liked the initial three, but it still has so much promise, in my opinion. There's still so much that can be done with these characters, and I loved them. I loved Avery and the brothers, and so anyway, I couldn't turn down a beautiful copy, even if it was a little bit of a disappointing book for me. At least in that initial installment. If like the rest of it is good, I might go back and love it. But anyway, that's my reset. That's kind of, I feel like a good representation of what March is looking like for me, of some of the things I'm interested in doing, the books I'm interested in reading. There's too many books as always, but I love it. It's just fun. It's enjoyable. And so I hope you are having a wonderful day. I hope you're excited for March. I honestly do get excited at the beginning of stuff, beginning of months, beginning of years. So here's to a good March. But anyway, that's all I have. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to, and I will see you guys in the next book video. All right, guys, take care.